Hello. Welcome to the second of the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. A special thanks to my patrons for supporting me. At the beginning of this part we see that one of the cabins in train is on fire. It's cabin 3707 behind the cabin where Dokya is. The only one person alive and walking the cabin. He walks to the door between their cabins. Someone is saying, "Where did it go? It was right here just now. Move. I'm going to catch it." Dokya says, "Sorry. I work alone." Namwoon is surprised, and says, "Well, that's a bummer." Dokya thinks, if I team up with Namwoon Kim, my survival would be guaranteed for now. If I hadn't read TWSA, I probably would have made a different choice. But I am a reader who know about him and his future. And after saying him in person, Namwoon puts his hand on the shoulder of Dokya and says, "Then get out of my way, I have some unfinished business with that granny. I can't let the bug I caught escape from my grasp." Dokya grabs his hand. Namwoon gets angry and says, "What? Are you trying to act like a hero now? Or do you have a split personality? Geez, you know it alls are all the same." Dokya gets frustrated and thinks, "I realized how much I hated his character in TWSA. You think you'll be a teenager forever, right?" Namwoon says, "People like you make me sick." System says Namwoon Kim despises you. Your affinity towards Namwoon Kim has slightly decreased. Namwoon punches him and says, "I said, move." Namwoon swings his punch with full power. Dokya easily dodges his punch. Namwoon is really surprised and says, "Look at you, you're not half bad." Dokya gets angry and thinks, "I knew you would make that move, this guy is exactly how I imagined he would be." Namwoon punches him and says, "How about this?" Dokya blocks the punch with his arm. Dokya is holding his arm and thinks, "That's the skill of the Edgelord attribute." Namwoon activates Grimdark Awakening level 1. Dokya thinks, he already activated his skill. Namwoon punches Dokya. Dokya dodges his punch hits the ground and a really loud bang can be heard. Namwoon gets excited and says, "What's this? I'm so strong." Dokya sees him and thinks, this is probably why the protagonist still recruited him although he's like a psychopath. System says, "Your understanding of Namwoon Kim has increased." Dokya thinks, should I use that now? System says, "You have unlocked level 1 of your personal skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint." What exactly is that? Other passengers are still finding the insects and says, "Damn it. Where did all the insects go?" They hear large explosion voices. And one of them says, What's going on?" Namwoon tries to punch Dokya really hard. Again and again but Dokya dodges all his attacks. Namwoon gets really angry and says, "Why aren't you getting hit?" Dokya thinks, "Try all you want, but you won't be able to hit me." He has activated level 1 of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. System says, "Right shoulder." Namwoon tries to hit on the right shoulder but Dokya dodges his attack. System says, "In the face." Dokya dodges that attack as well. He thinks, as soon as my second skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint was activated, I knew what he was going to do. It was like could read his mind. Dokya falls to the ground, and Namwoon is really angry and says, "You slimy little jerk." Dokya thinks, but all I can do is dodge his attacks. Retaliating isn't possible. Is just need to hold on a little longer. Dokya says, 2 minutes left, kid. They both looks toward the old lady. Dokya thinks, if that old lady dies, Namwoon will clear the scenario. Dokya goes toward the old and thinks, whatever happens, I can't let someone like him move on to the next scenario. Namwoon brings a knife out of his pocket. And says, "I knew you would make that move." System says, "Heart." Namwoon gets ready to attack and activates knife fighting level 1. Dokya saves the old lady from his attack. Dokya gets cut on his arm. And thinks, it hurts. It feels like, my skin is burning. Now that I think about it, he's military geek. Namwoon's knife is stuck in the ground. Dokya picks up the old lady. And move her to a safe location. Dokya thinks if I lose to Namwoon Kim, Amy going to die here too. He thinks, death is around the corner. This is a world that is simply based on survival of the fittest. No, the world has always been like this. According to the law of the jungle, the strong prey on the weak. Nothing has really changed, rather, that rule has just become cleared. I must also adhere to that rule if I want to survive. Namwoon is walking toward Dokya and says, "Come on, Mr. Smarty Pants. You don't even have the strength to run anymore. Do me a favor. And let's just get this over with, we're running out of time. He thinks, if I hesitate. Dokya says, Namwoon Kim, second-year student at Cheonjul High School. Is an insect egg also an organism? Namwoon says, what the hell are you suddenly talking about? He says, the answer is, yes. He thinks, I will die. And squash a lot of insect eggs he was holding. Dokya gets a lot of coins. Namwoon gets really angry and says, how am I supposed to know that? And jumps toward Dokya. System says, you have obtained coins, would you like a tutorial on coin usage? Dokya thinks, skip. And I will invest 2,700 coins in my stamina. His stamina goes from level 1 to level 10. And System says, stamina level has been considerably enhanced. Your physical durability has greatly increased. Namwoon hits Dokya with his knife full strength but he wasn't able to hurt him at all. Namwoon jumps backward and says, what? How? Dokya says, grasshoppers lay more than 100 eggs at a time during mating season. Namwoon says, what? Dokya says, I'm not the one who's going to die. You are. There are only 57 seconds left. Namwoon gives an evil smile. And starts to hit him again and again. Namwoon says, die. Die. Why won't you die? He keeps hitting Dokya and Dokya is not affected by his attacks at all. Time runs out and System says, your time has run out. Proceeding with checkout. Everyone's head blows up who has not killed anyone yet. System says, main scenario 1 prove you value has ended. Number of survivors in cabin number 3807 of train number 3434 to Bulgwang, 5. Dokkaebi gets there and says, now this is fascinating. What in the world happened in here? I was only gone for a minute, but look at all this mess. There are only 5 people alive. System says, survivor. Hyunsung Lee. Songga Yu. Gilyoung Lee. Myeong Han. Namwoon Kim is laying dead in front of Dokya. And the last survivor is Dokya Kim. We see a flashback. Namwoon throws his knife and says, please help me. I'm begging you. Dokya says, why should I? Namwoon says, people's lives are important so it's only right that you save me. Dokya says, that's how things were in the old world. You said so yourself. A new world needs new rules. Namwoon says, no, I don't want to die. Please help me. Namwoon head blows up. Dokya thinks, you were right. I am just like you. I could have saved those people. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel guilty. But it's strange. He looks at himself in the mirror. He is about to wipe the blood of his fave. He thinks, how am I able to remain so calm? It feels like I'm just reading the novel instead of actually partaking in it. System says, you slaughtered 124 living organisms. Slaughter details. 1 grasshopper, 123 grasshopper eggs. He thinks, I'm clean, oh it's on the glass. System says, due to killing non-resistant organisms, the number of coins you obtained has been halved. You have obtained 6,200 coins. The coins you used to level up your stats will be deducted. You have obtained 3,500 coins. The train starts to move again. System says, you have unlocked the achievement decimator due to excessive slaughtering. You have obtained 300 coins as a basic clear reward. 100 coins have been deducted for the channel usage fee. Additional rewards will be calculated. Dokya thinks, the world we once knew has collapsed, and a new world is being born. And I am. After that we see outside of train there are really big snakes are destroying the cities. Han looks outside and says, what in the world? Songga says, my god. Dokkaebi says, now this is fascinating. Dokya thinks, the only reader who knows how this world will end. The train is moving. A really big snake appears outside of train. Train looks like a small model train in front of the snake's eyes. The trains. Han gets really scared and says, why are we stopping again? It's coming for us. Dokya thinks, that snake-like monster is called an ichthyosaur. It's also known as a sea serpent. Later on, it will be classified as a grade 7 monster in TWSA. Hyunsung Lee says, what on earth is that? Dokya thinks, the world of TWSA prioritizes scenarios over everything else. So we won't be attacked by any creatures unless they are part of the scenario. Dokya thinks, we're safe, for now. Dokya sees something above Dokkaebi's head and start count, 1, 2, 3. 20, 21. There are 21 in total. Now wonder is so happy. Dokya thinks, the number of starts signifies the number of constellations that are logged into the channel. Constellations. They are the most mysterious beings in TWSA and the masterminds behind this tragedy who livestream the scenarios from across the universe. In other words, they are the ones who watch the Dokabi's channels. The channel had 21 viewers, which is a lot for a newbie Dokabi. He's just dying of happiness. Dokya thinks, in the original story, Namwoon Kim killed almost everyone in this cabin. System says, due to the death of Namwoon Kim, 2 constellations feel slight hostility towards you. Dokya thinks, some constellation must be furious about the outcome. And this error probably happened because I killed Namwoon Kim. Judging from how the constellations, preference are popping up, I guess this is officially the beginning of the story. It's just unbelievable. I was in their position yesterday. But now they are the ones watching me. System says, a few constellations are impressed with your scenario. The constellations have gifted you 500 coins. Dokya thinks, of course, if there are constellations who hate me, there are also constellations who support me. I hope all of you enjoy the show. Because sooner or later, you'll end up paying the admission fee with your lives. Sangha says, Dokya, are you okay? Dokya says, I'm sorry, I couldn't save the old lady. Sangha says, Dokya, how are you so? Dokya says, pardon. Sangha says, it's nothing. Thanks for earlier. You threw the cage towards me. Dokya says, that's just coincidence. It won't happen again. Dokya thinks, I don't know what she's thinking, but she was smart enough to survive this chaos. She probably understood what I said. Because of my choice, some lived while some died. I don't deserve the gratitude of those who survived. Dokabi says, wow. So, did you all prove your worth? I see there are many survivors. Oh my. Thank you for the sponsorship, dear constellations. I can't believe there are 21 constellations watching my channel. Dokya thinks, there are 5 survivors. That's more than I thought there would be. I expected Hyunsung Lee to survive since he's strong and athletic. Dokya says, Gilyoung Lee. That must be his name. We see a flashback where Dokya says, do you want to live? Dokya thinks this isn't sympathy. If I had to use a word to describe this, Dokya says, then let's team up. Dokya thinks, it would be hypocrisy. System says, a few constellations are impressed with your good deed. The constellations have gifted you 200 coins. Dokya thinks, even though it seems shameless, it can't be helped. Because I, too, want to live. Considering the events that will follow, I have to get the attention of the constellations. Dokabi says, a lot of interesting things happened today. The guy in the next cabin was also a total nutcase. Han says, then are you going to let us go now? Dokya thinks, and lastly Mr. Myongo Han. He's one lucky guy. Han says, we did everything you asked for. Dokya thinks, but why was he even taking the subway? From what I know, he's very well off. He went around every department to brag about his new Mercedes. Dokabi says, let you go. Haven't you seen what's going on outside? Are you sure you want me to let you go? We see a really big snake monster roaring outside. Dokabi says, anyways, I'm impressed. I didn't have any expectations for this cabin, but you all survived the first scenario. You have proven that even bugs deserve to survive. Dokya thinks, damn it. Or nothing but grasshoppers to him. Dokabi says, of course, every hardship deserves a reward. The reward for the first scenario is that you are now qualified to be sponsored by constellations. Exciting, right? Dokabi says, what's this? None of you seem excited at all. This is a pretty big deal, you know. Dokya thinks, of course they don't know. I'm the only person who knows what a constellation or sponsor is. Dokabi says, let me break this down for you. All of you are terribly so weak right now. If you were to just move on to the next scenario in this state, you would be killed by a weak ground rat, let alone a croc. But there are great beings in this world who pity you and wish to sponsor you. Do you understand? Hyunsung Lee says, what is that supposed to mean? Who's sponsoring who? Dokabi thinks, gosh, you really are hopeless. There's no point in explaining it all over again. Why don't you just experience it yourselves? Dokabi snaps his finger and a sponsor selection windows. Select a constellation. The selected constellation will be your reliable sponsor. Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. Demonic Judge of Fire. Secretive Plotter. Prisoner of the Golden Headband. Dokya says, 4 sponsors. Sangha says, Dokya. 2 strange options suddenly popped up. Dokya says, I don't know anything either. Just think of it as taking an aptitude test. Dokya thinks, aptitude test. Sangha was offered 2 sponsorships. I guess she's lucky too. The ones who provide support to us are the constellations. And now, sponsor selection, one of the main events in TWSA, has started. The sponsor selection is a system in which the constellations who watch us through the Dokubi's channels, choose a human they like as their incarnation and sponsor them. And in my case, 4 constellations want to sponsor me as their incarnation. But the constellations never reveal their true name. Dokya thinks, considering the protagonist of TWSA initially had 5 options. 4 isn't a small number at all. Dokya thinks, using the hints in their nicknames, like Abyssal, Demon, and Garden, we must try to deduce their identities ourselves. Well, it's a piece of cake for a reader of TWSA like me. Dokya thinks, let's see, first. The Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. He's a powerful being that leads the constellation group Black Cloud. From what I recall, his true name was quite long. The incarnation of this sponsor receives an additional boost to their power level. Considering that stamina and strength is vital in the early scenarios, it would be smart to select him as my sponsor. Unfortunately, the benefits end there. The more you use this constellation's power, the more you lose your senses. Eventually, you'll end up as Psychotic Killer. Usually, he supports edgelord attributes. I'm pretty sure he was the constellation who supported Namwoon Kim in the novel. So, why did he choose me? Dokya thinks, I don't know about him. I'll just put him on hold for now. My second option is, I'm amazed to see her on my list. Dokya thinks, Demonic Judge of Fire. Judging from the name, one could assume this constellation is demonic. But ironically, demonic means, this constellation isn't a demon. The words fire and judge indicate that this entity makes judgments through fire. That means she's actually Archangel Uriel. Dokya thinks, I remember someone chose this constellation as their sponsor in the novel. Uriel isn't a bad choice, but I'll explore my other options first. Constellations of absolute good are powerful, but they impose strict restrictions on the ones they sponsor. And the third, secretive plotter. Davy thinks, I'm an avid reader of TWSA, but I've never seen this option before. If I read it more thoroughly, I could probably figure it out. It could be one of the constellations that were just mentioned in certain that. It's not a powerful being. Let's move on. This adjective sounds so feeble. This is the last one. Prisoner of the Golden Headband. Dokya thinks, I can't believe this constellation made an offer already. Prisoner. This constellation may sound negative at first, but you have to pay attention to the proper noun. Golden Headband. The smallest prison in the world. The owner of Mount Wagwo who lives with the pain of the binding head shackle. The handsome monkey king with the golden gaze and fury eyes. The great sage, Heaven's equal Sun Wukong. One of the characters was sponsored by him in the novel. He has the power to crush hundreds of incarnations with a single swing of his staff, and eradicate thousands of monsters with a single lightning bolt. Dokya thinks, I still remember that passage very clearly since the author emphasized it so strongly. Why has such a powerful constellation shown interest in me? If I choose the great sage, Heaven's equal as my sponsor, will I be able to beat him? System says, the sponsor selection has ended. Dokubi says, okay, everyone. Are you done? Dokubi starts to laugh and says, someone has made a very interesting choice. Well, there will be many more opportunities to come. Well, since everyone is done selecting their sponsors, let's take a short break. I have to go prepare for the next scenario. Dokubi disappears and says, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Dokya says, everyone, please gather around. Hyunsung Lee says, I'm Hyunsung Lee. Dokya says, Dokya Kim. Hyunsung says, I'm not sure it's the right time to be saying this, but it's nice to meet you. As I said, I'm in the army. Well, I should say I was in the army now. Dokya says, I'm assuming you can't get in touch with your unit. Hyunsung says, yes. Dokya thinks, he has a strong grip. I shouldn't be surprised. After all, he's the tanker in the early stages of TWSA. I must recruit Hyunsung Lee. Hyunsung Lee says, and Dokya, thank you for what you did earlier. If it weren't for you, we'd probably be dead by now. Even if we had survived through that method, we wouldn't deserve to live as humans. No that's. Han Put says, to Dokya you did it, rookie. Dokya, you know who I am, right? Dokya says, yes, Myongo Han. Han says, excuse me. You should call me Mr. Han. Dokya says, we're not at work right now. Han says, you little brat, so, you're not planning to come to work anymore. Where did you learn such bad manners? And to be honest, I was pretty offended by your little stunt back there. If there were bugs you should have told me. How dare you just throw them? Dokya says, shut up, Myongo Han. Han is really surprised and says, what? Dokya says, don't you see what's going on here? Should I have let the punk hit you to make you come to your senses? Dokya says, Mona soft. Do you think that company even exists after everything that's happened? And he's not the only one who needs a wake-up call. Everyone here needs to come to their senses. As the Dokubi said, this isn't a joka. I'm sure all of you realize what's going on by now. Dokya says, a game-like interface. Attribute windows and skills. Is there someone who still doesn't get what's going on? Han says, it's the kind of thing I read about in novels while covering the night shift. I still can't believe this is real. This isn't a dream, right? Dokya says, unfortunately, this is now our reality. Hyunsung says, it's a good thing that at least one person is certain about what's going on. So what now? Do you have any ideas, Dokya? System says, Hyunsung Lee has started to trust you. Your understanding of Hyunsung Lee has increased. Dokya thinks, we have to get out of here. Everyone is really surprised. We see a really big snake outside the train roaring. They all start arguing. We see a really loud slams behind their cart. Someone is trying to break the door. And the train starts to move. Dokya thinks, what are we moving on to the next scenario already? No, the Dokubi hasn't come back yet. That means, the person on the other side of that door is the sole survivor of subway cabin 3707. Someone is kicking the door really hard. And thinks, it was quite obvious who that was. He's coming. The true protagonist of this story. Dokya says, we have to get out of here. Hyunsung says, what? But, Dokya says, if we don't leave right now, we're all going to die before the next scenario. Hyunsung says, Dokya, we can't be sure that whatever is on the other side of that door is our enemy. Dokya says, he's the survivor who killed all those people in his cabin. Do you still want to meet him? Hyunsung says, let's find a way out of here. Songa says, this door is broken. Han says, damn it. This one won't open either. Dokya thinks, the invisible force field disappeared after the scenario ended. We just need to find a working door. This one's broken too. Among the 8 doors in this cabin, we haven't checked 3 of them yet. Dokya thinks, damn it. There has to be one door that works. The other protagonist starts kicking the door harder. Dokya and everyone is scared. The second part of the Omniscient Reader Viewpoint ends here. Please subscribe and like. And if you want me to support financially, you can join my Patreon only for $1. Patreon and Discord links are in the description if you want support me. And a special thanks to all my patrons for supporting me. Thanks for watching.